Hi everybody, this is our last video for chapter 1. This video is going to talk about something called literal equations. Okay, when I think of literal equations, I kind of think of like formulas that you would see in math or science. They're going to be equations with multiple variables. So it's not going to just be an x, it might be an x and a y and a z, or more letters, okay, more variables. So let's solve each of these equations below for x. Okay, the one on the left here is just a normal equation like we've been solving, nothing different. Okay, this is not a literal equation, it's just a basic equation that we've been working on in class. So we're going to undo subtraction first. Okay, and then we can divide each side by 2, and we get x equals 9. Okay, pretty straightforward. Nothing special there. The problem is, when we go to do the example on the right, we have no numbers at all, but we're trying to solve for x. So here's how I want you to think about it. Act as though a, b, and c are really just numbers, okay? They're placeholders. We don't know what a, b, and c are, but they're numbers. So if I have a minus b, okay, we can still get rid of a minus b by using our inverse operations. We're going to add b to cancel that out. Now here's the thing though, I have to add b to the right side as well. So on the left side, all that's left over is ax, okay, a times x, and that's equal to, well, what is c plus b? Okay, we don't know what c is, we don't know what b is, so we can't add them together to make it a number or a new letter. Since we don't know what c and b are, we're just going to write it as c plus b. All right, now our last step, okay, remember we're trying to get x by itself, is we have a times x. So again, a is a number, it's multiplying x, so to undo that, we're going to divide by a. Okay, notice on the right side I divided everything by a, not just the c, not just the b, I divided everything. So when we do that, our final answer is going to look really weird because our final answer is just x equals c plus b divided by a. Okay, there's not a number for our answer because we don't know the values of a, b, and c. So we just leave our answer like this. We've basically just reorganized and solved for a particular variable in that equation that was given to us. So this is what we're going to be doing a lot of in this video. Now, a couple things I want to point out before we get going too far. Okay, when we're working with basic equations, which are, the normal ones we've been seeing up to this point, and literal equations, which are the new ones with multiple variables, you're going to solve both of these kinds of equations using your inverse operations. Okay, that's very important to remember. Okay, addition still undoes subtraction. Division still undoes multiplication, and so on. The other point that I want to make that I just talked about is literal equations don't have a number for their answer because we have multiple variables. Okay, so just a couple things to remember as we go through this. So in each one of these equations we look at, and we're going to skip over a few, we're going to do some particular ones that are on your page. Make sure you're paying attention to which variable you're supposed to solve for. So for number 1, we're solving for w, okay? Well, here's W. W is being multiplied by L. So to undo that, I need to divide by L. So our answer is this simple. We say that A divided by L is equal to W. And that's our answer. Okay, that's all we're doing. It's almost easier than a normal equation because we don't have to do any calculations. We're just doing the inverse operations. Okay, for number 2, we're solving for H. Well, H is right here. It's being multiplied by B. So we use our inverse operations. We divide by B. So our answer would be A divided by B is equal to H. Okay, number 4, we're solving for T. Now this one's a little tricky because on the right side, we have 3 variables, and keep in mind all 3 of these variables are multiplying each other. This is P times R times T. We are solving for T. T has 2 variables in front of it that are both multiplying T, so we can all at once get rid of P and R by dividing each side by PR. So when we do that, our final answer is going to be I divided by PR is equal to T. Okay, same thing for number 5. We're solving for H. L times W times H is what we have on the right side of this equation. So to get rid of the L and the W, we just have to divide by LW. And our final answer would be V divided by L times W is equal to the height, or H. Okay, let's make it a little different. For number 7, we're solving for C. Okay, there's no multiplication this time. We have C minus S. So we need to get rid of the minus S, so we use our inverse operations. We add S. This cancels. We need to add M and S together, but we don't know what numbers we have for M and S, so we just leave it as M plus S is equal to C, and that's our final answer. For D, we're solving for M. M is being divided by V, so the inverse would be multiplying by V. When we multiply D times V, it just becomes dV, and that is equal to M. All right, for number 9, we're trying to solve for H. Now, I want to break this into 2 steps because H is being multiplied by a number and a variable. So I want to take care of the number first. We have 1/2 multiplying H, and we know that we need to divide, but we also know that instead of dividing by a half, I could multiply each side by the reciprocal. Okay, 1/2, the reciprocal of that would be 2/1, which is just 2. So I'm going to start by multiplying each side of my equation by 2. And that's going to cancel out with 1/2 on the right side. And on the left side, it'll just become 2a. So we have 2a equals b times h. And again, we're multiplying the h times b. So we use our inverse operations, and we divide each side by b. So our final answer is 2 times a divided by b is equal to h. For number 10, very similar. We're solving for b this time. Okay, b is being multiplied by 1/3 and h. I'm going to take care of the 1/3 first. So instead of dividing by 1/3, I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal, which is 3. So we get 3v is equal to b times h. And if we're solving for b, we need to use our inverse operations. We need to divide each side by h. So our final answer is 3v divided by h equals b. for number 11, okay, notice that we are solving for m and we have a v squared that is multiplying m. Don't let the exponents hold you up too much here, okay? We're solving for m, okay? M is being multiplied by v squared. It's also being divided by 2. Now, since the 2 is dividing what's multiplying with m, we have to get rid of the divided by 2 first. So that means that we need to multiply each side by 2. So this gives us 2k equals m times v squared. And now we have m being multiplied by v squared, so we divide each side by v squared, which gives us our final answer, 2 times k divided by v squared equals m. Number 12, what I want you to be really careful of here is we're solving for b, but I want you to notice that the b plus c is all being divided by d. So when we're trying to solve for b, we need to get rid of that divide by d first. So we're going to multiply each side by d. Now remember, we don't know what a and d are, so when we multiply them together, it just becomes ad, or a times d. Okay, so AD is equal to B plus C. And then I can keep solving for B here. I need to get rid of plus C by subtracting C. A times D minus C is exactly that. It just stays AD minus C, which is equal to B. Okay, just a few more. All right, let's solve for W. So this one's a little interesting. W is being multiplied by a 2 in front, and it also has this 2L being added to it. So remember, with inverse operations, we always undo addition and subtraction first. So I'm going to start by subtracting 2L from each side. So the left side just becomes P minus 2L is equal to 2W. To get rid of the 2 that's multiplying the W, we divide. And our final answer here would be P minus 2L divided by 2 is equal to W. Okay, just a few more. For 14, very similar to the previous one, but instead of having 2's in front of the variables, we have more variables. So we're trying to solve for y. The ax is being added to the y, but the b is multiplying y. So remember, we have to undo addition first. So we're going to subtract ax from each side. So our left side, we just have b times y. And on our right side, we now have c minus a times x. Our last step here is to get rid of the b that's multiplying y by division. So our final answer would be y equals c minus a times x, all divided by b. And it's very important that everything on the right side is being divided by b. Number 16 is for t. So we're going to undo addition first. So we're going to subtract p. Now notice, I'm not subtracting p from the PRT because p is being multiplied with r and t. So I can't just subtract it away. The subtraction only takes care of the p that I crossed out. So we have to also do that to the left side. And this becomes a minus p is equal to p times r times t. Now this looks similar to some of our previous problems. We want to get rid of the PR, so we're going to divide by PR. Cancels here, and it gives us our final answer, which is a minus p divided by p times r is equal to t. All right, this will be our last example for today. We want to solve for b subscript 1. So when we have a little number down here, it's called a subscript. So we're trying to solve for b subscript 1, which is inside of the parentheses. Now, I know that when we've been solving equations, we've been distributing if we solve parentheses. That's not helpful with literal equations. It's going to make it messier than it needs to be. So what we're going to do first is we're going to take care of the two things that are multiplying with the parentheses that b1 is inside of. So to get rid of that 1/2, we want to divide by 1/2, but we know that we can really multiply by the reciprocal instead. So we're going to multiply each side by 2. So that leaves us with 2a is equal to h times b1 plus b2. And again, h is being multiplied with the parentheses that b1 is inside of. So if I want to get rid of h, I can divide by h. Okay, now that I have nothing multiplying what's inside of the parentheses, I no longer need to write the parentheses. So we have 2a divided by h is equal to b1 plus b2. Okay, and at this point, if we're solving for b1, all we need to do is subtract b2 from each side. Now, when we subtract b2 from the left side, it's not going to go in the top of this fraction that we have. It's actually going to go next to it because the h is only dividing the 2a. It's not dividing b2, so we can't put it in the numerator of that fraction. All right, everyone, that is it for this video. Remember, rewind, pause, and ask questions. Have a great day.